Michelle Live. Sports Timeout. The fans, the field, the faith, the fun. Here's Michelle.
And Big Voice Guy, don't forget the fellas.
You got it.
The fans, the field, the faith, the fun, the fellas. It is My Michelle Live Sports Time Out. So happy to have you with me and my brothers. We're all going to pop off with our thoughts as we celebrate the Super Bowl Sunday. It is like an American holiday. Let me introduce you to the team right now. We have with us author and photographer. Well, you tell him, Big Voice Guy.
Photographer Brent R Baker.
Yes, and we have with us Del Didwe. He is author too. In fact, I was just touting one of your books because I had it handy. Oops. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. And we have links at My Michelle Live. Guys, the Super Bowl is upon us. And for those of us who grew up in football, did you guys grow up in football homes?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
So that's all of us. We have that in common. Super Bowl Sunday was a holiday. You may or may not have even gone to church. I don't know if y'all, sometimes we won't even go there. But it was the food. It was the celebration. In my house, it was also the Puppy Bowl. You had to have two screens. You had to have the Super Bowl and the Puppy Bowl going. And for those of you who have not experienced the Puppy Bowl, really, seriously, if you have a Super Bowl party, have a second television or a screen with a computer or something. Have the Puppy Bowl on. That is so precious. They're highlighting dogs and cats now that need adopting. So anyway, your thoughts, guys, on the Super Bowl.
Thoughts is I'm not going to be there, fortunately. And
we were pulling for you. Can we just be honest? Weren't we? We were really rooting for the Bengals because we knew that
we were up in the booth, and I think some of the guys sitting next to us had already bought their flights, and I had mine all caught up. We're just ready with all the information, just ready to hit submit on that second act. I was like, oh, better not buy it yet. So we were ready to buy it, and we caught it up, and chose wisely. Yeah, but my thoughts on the Super Bowl, I missed my last two predictions. I thought it was going to be a Bengals 49ers, so I was completely wrong. And, I'm not going to make a guess on something.
Hey, I'm going to go back. You should replay the recording from last week for my predictions, which were lucky guesses. I will totally, and who would have predicted that the 49ers would be running an offense out of 1915 out of necessity because you couldn't throw the ball because you had two injured quarterbacks, and the one that was in there was UCL was torn.
Yeah, I think they were looking up in the stands to find any quarterback available.
I think it did. It's one thing, remember the NFL, they used to allow you to have a third emergency quarterback on the active roster who could only come in if the other two guys were injured, and that's no longer the case.
That was
crazy. So I think that right there is the argument. That was a good rule that they should come back to, because not just for the 49ers. I mean, if you were running with your fifth string quarterback, you're not going to win that game, but at least it would have looked like a competitive football game in the NFC Championship, which really did a disservice both to the teams and fans and everybody that the game ended. They had to play it out the way they did. I don't think the 49ers are going to win the way the Eagles looked, but that would it turned it into kind of a farce. Yeah, the Kansas City-Cincinnati game, another classic between those two teams. And now that Kansas City's actually beaten the Bengals with Joe Burrow, you have an actual rivalry. That was just a fun game to watch, and it wasn't the most spectacular. Like last year's was just like a high wire act of huge plays after huge plays, and this was more of a gut check, it felt like. And Kansas City got through. As far as a prediction for this week, a very flimsy pick for Kansas City, just because they look like they have every cylinder clicking right now. Kansas City, obviously they're playing really well. They got past Cincinnati, they're there, but they have Patrick Mahomes, who has Super Bowl experience. It's just one of those.
Maybe this is a rhetorical.
One of those gut feelings. I don't have a rooting interest in either team, so I make a very non-confident Philadelphia pick.
Yeah, I lean in that direction, but I don't. Who knows? But maybe this is a bit of a rhetorical question. But does Super Bowl experience make that much of a difference? What is it that puts you over the top at the Super Bowl? Because we've seen experienced QBs, we've seen experienced players bite it, and we've seen people surprise us. I love surprises. We all do, unless it's our team. These surprises. But I don't have skin in the games. I'm just saying, guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. It's just a matter of opinion. Like last year, Burrow was in it along with Stafford. Neither one of them had Super Bowl experience at that time. But you have players. I think it's good to have players and coaches who have been there because it is a different environment. Holy cow, it's a completely different, crazy environment than.
Explain to our viewers what is really different. I mean, even those of us who grew up with football being injected into our morning cornflakes. That was my dad. You guys have heard me say my dad's one piece of advice to me was, Michelle, Jesus is life and football is life, not necessarily in that order. I'm sorry, no slam against my dad. I'm just saying what he said. It's a big deal in my household. But he told, other than it's a bigger stage, from those of us who have sat in on a Super Bowl or we've been maybe press or we've been privy to how it feels in the locker room, let's talk a little bit about that because I think our viewers and listeners will find that fascinating.
I've been to a few of them, and everything. It's more of a show leading up to the game. Everything is timed out. The breaks are longer. There's so much stage and so much script going on and people wanting their, and all the commercials, but that doesn't matter the players, but the players, everything is on time and there's no laid backness to it. There's no, it's just another game because people have taken over that game to where it is a production and complete show other than a ball game.
Yeah, and leading up to the Super Bowl, if there's any marketing that you can imagine being a massive runaway success, it really is a Super Bowl because it really is just a game. Now, the obvious point of view, it's the biggest stage and it's the biggest, one of the, if not, it is not the biggest, but one of the biggest televised games or experience games in the world. And it's huge. And so, of course, there's that pressure. This is the finals. But every sport has the finals. The funny thing about the Super Bowl, though, Brent, too, is that not only what Del said, it's a production, but there's also that factor of it's a performance and not just a performance on the field.
Yeah, I think athletes thrive on routine. There's a few exceptions, but most athletes thrive on routine, and there's nothing routine about the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. All the press conferences, the free-for-alls, some of the questions that they're asked. If you were an animal, what would you be? From some outlets that I guess you could say they're not used to covering sports, they may cover it for the Super Bowl, and they don't know anything about the game, but they want to find out the strangest possible thing. It actually makes me wish Aaron Rodgers might make the Super Bowl just to hear some of the things that might come out of his mouth. But anyway,
there you go.
I think as far as the game goes and the experience factor too, I think for the guys who've not been there, I think that the first couple series of the game where all that's over and all of a sudden you're in the game and it has a different feel to it. I think having that experience allows those guys to settle in faster. And then towards the end of the game, I think back to the Atlanta New England Super Bowl a few years ago where the Falcons were up, 27-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan had not been to a Super Bowl before, and Tom Brady was, I think, winning his sixth, ended up winning the sixth one. But what you saw in that game was very much, it wasn't all on Matt Ryan, but you saw a lot of inexperience on Atlanta's part and maybe feeling the pressure of like, oh my gosh, we can win this. Let's not lose this game. And Tom Brady just going out and doing what Tom Brady did. Now that he's retired,
maybe,
and leading them back. I do think that experience, it's not everything, but it can make a difference, especially at the very start or the very end of the game.
Okay. Yeah, there's the Super Bowl factor is a big one. It is quite a production. And I do love it, from the commercials to the Puppy Bowl to the game itself. There are some things, though. There are some players and associations that are bringing attention to something pretty big in the Super Bowl, and that is human trafficking. And I think it's important to realize that Arizona was the 18th highest U.S. state for human trafficking in 2022, according to Polaris National Humane Hotline. It's a huge issue, and the Super Bowl is the second highest single incident of human trafficking that we experience on the planet, where it's concentrated. And that's really sad that in the midst of all of the fanfare and the game, that there's something so ugly as human trafficking. It affects children particularly, and it's a sad thing. So I wanted to bring that, not to bring the Super Bowl to a downer. But
I think first of all, you're correct in that it really proliferates around the Super Bowl, and it sounds like there was a big deal around the World Cup as well. The flip side of it, I think also this is a good opportunity to bring that, to drag that screaming out into the light. It's not something people like to talk about. It's really the modern day form of slavery, and it does happen everywhere. It's just right now it's concentrated around the Super Bowl. And in Washington State, where we live, you've got signs up in public restrooms, that for people that are being trafficked for ways that they can contact people if they're in trouble. It's the modern form of slavery. On one hand, yes, it is absolutely horrific that it's happening. It's the fact that it's concentrated around the Super Bowl, I think, does give us an opportunity to talk about it more when a lot of people would rather not.
And what about those Super Bowl ads? Have any of you had a chance to peruse some of what we can expect? Do you like to be surprised? See, I've been in the habit of looking ahead of time because it's part of the celebration. But as a mom, I wanted to know what my kids are going to be exposed to, so I could be maybe proactive or say, hey, it's time for a restroom break, because sometimes the ads were pretty graphic for younger kids.
I just hope they're advertising a product and not an advocacy of some platform. Advertise your product. Show me your car. Show me your Doritos. I don't want to hear about social issues and things like that. So I hope the ads are focused around actual, business trying to sell something.
Apparently, alcohol is the biggest contributor, which isn't surprising. But okay, let's take that on. Like our face-off issue. I agree with you. I don't want social ads. But one company is putting out two 90-minute or 90 second
90 minute
ad. Come on, that's a lot of money. I mean, at $7 million pop, 90-second ads, and it is He Gets Us. It's the He Gets Us campaign, which kind of highlights the humanity of Jesus. Was that a social issue? Should that be part of the Super Bowl? Let's take it. If trans lives matter, Black lives matter, social agendas, vote for this person, vote for that person. If they had ads, you're saying, yeah, you know what? Keep it somewhere else. Because I'm with you. I want a politics-free environment to watch a game. And here's why. I'll give my 2 cents, and then I really want to have you guys weigh in. That is it was one of the last bastions of liberty, where it didn't matter who you are, what you identified as, who you voted for, where you go to church, or if you go to church on Sunday. We could come together, salute the flag, sing the national anthem, whatever, watch our teams. And the only division was, who are you rooting for and who am I rooting for? That was it. And it was a beautiful microcosm of America coming together and finding something that could bring us together. But no, of course, we have to bring politics and Antifa and wave our flags and kneel into it. And I say, just leave it off the field, leave it out of the celebration, leave it out of the commercials. But then we have He Gets Us. But now we have to have Jesus preach to us during the game. Is that the place? Brent?
I do think that there's a delineation between commercials and what's happening on the field during the game.
Absolutely.
I get it. I guess from my perspective, I'm just glad we didn't find out that they wanted to run the He Gets Us commercials and we're not allowed to, as opposed to some of the other things.
Good point.
We're going to get some ones that we agree with and some that we don't. And that to me is as American as the Super Bowl. My problem is, like you said, when we have these social issues brought into the game on the field and you are only allowed to express one perspective. And so if you get multiple perspectives, even if I'm a little queasy about some of them, I'm good with it.
Like that. I think that kind of puts it in perspective, Del.
Yeah, that was well thought out of and said. You can't. How can you say no to Jesus? So you can't say no to that. So you gotta have to quick ticket down. I think that's more, and that's going to. I would align that in more. I'm a believer. I follow Christ, but I would enlighten that to more of a motivational, inspirational ad where everything's good. Right? They're going to show us the bad things probably, but then how the end result is going to be motivational, inspirational to help you. I think so. I think they could spin it that way. But yeah, I would accept that one. But yeah, you're right. What happens next year when the group who put on the Grammys wants to show you their satanic version after that? So
Yeah.
you got to draw a line somewhere.
I know, and I'm with you. I'm not saying no to Jesus, but do we have to draw the line? It's free. It's the free market. And really, in the end, people will determine what they want to see. So I'm going to be a little bit enlightened with my thought. You have swayed me a bit, Brent, and I will concede that, you know what, that's the free market. If I'm going to support the free market, then if you want to have your unholy Grammy Satan worshiping creepiness in an ad and you've got $7 million to do it, you can do it, because I'll just go and get another plate of chicken wings during your ad. But that is the free market. But where it's on the field, that's supposed to be football. So can we just keep it to the game? So maybe that's where we find balance.
I'll admit too, I have an uncanny ability to tune out commercials while they're on. The Super Bowl tends to be a bit of a exception because it's the Super Bowl commercials, right? So there's got to be some good ones. But my wife makes fun of me because have been watching the Seahawks all season long, and I'll say something about in December, oh wow, that commercial's really funny. She'll be like, how many 50 times we've seen this? I say, oh, you know me. It's like game takes a break and I tune out until it comes back.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on Super Bowl past or even the halftime show, which to me in the last, well, wait a minute, for those of you who are listening, we had just someone like photobomb our broadcast and he is all dressed up. What the heck is up with that? You're making us look good. You make us look good. And I'm sitting here in my flannels and the ball cap that's sideways. And here Garrick Pang is joining us. Guys, get ready to get paid.
Get ready to get
Garrick, I'm glad you made it. Welcome, buddy. Better late than never. We're talking Super Bowl. And before I get your prediction, we were just talking about the ads and your thoughts.
Interestingly, there's going to be an ad on the Super Bowl. There's going to be two ads, actually, which I have a specific interest in. Oh, have you guys already? I feel like the kid who walked into class late. And I don't want to ask questions because if I do and the teacher says, oh, we already covered that. Sorry. We already covered that.
Yeah,
so you talked about he gets us.
And our face-off question was, I don't want to see a lot of politics or social issues on the field, but we were talking about in commercials, do we want to see it there? And does it really matter? And I even brought up, what if we have the Grammy performance revisited and an ad during the Super Bowl where you're singing unholy and worshiping Satan? Does it have a place, and what does it mean in a free society? So why not late to class boy? Weigh in. Teacher calls on Garrick.
I just feel like there's an opportunity there and people will capitalize on the opportunity, right? Whether it be a business or an organization. And so why not Jesus? And I think that it's going to be already, they've been running these ads on Monday Night Football and in certain cities. Seattle, they've actually just opened up Seattle. They've hit Miami. And I've been involved with some of the leadership of this organization. And they have had such an incredible response because they're really touching people's felt need. And they're not preaching religion. They're just talking about Jesus. And so I think that's the differentiating factor. And that's what is so beautiful is that they're not trying to sign people onto a religion. They just want people to meet Jesus. And as we know, that's what changes lives when people meet Jesus.
Somebody
Right.
say amen. The preacher likes it when you do that.
We just got panged.
We got paid. Honestly, it's because of those campaigns, and if you have seen them, they really highlight the humanity of Jesus, his relatability, that he's experienced what we've experienced, and he gets us. And I like that I Not Jesus. That can be our new campaign, Why Not Jesus, Eric. But that's a hard campaign to fight against. I saw yesterday a MSN commentary or news story that says the He Gets Us campaign founders are as deplorable as you'd expect them to be. And what does it say? Oh, they're Hobby Lobby and private donors. And they're reaching. And it's funny because why would you care? In this world where things are so broken, where every week, even on sports, where we could be talking about our favorite team and who's going to win and stats, oftentimes we're talking about broken issues that make their way onto the pitch, the field, and the ice. It's heartbreaking. So why, as Garrick's new slogan, why not Jesus? Del?
We do need it. The world is crazy right now. And sports is supposed to be that unifying bond. But yeah, I think right now is the best time. The world does need The world does need Christ right now because everything's falling apart around us. But we talk about these commercials, and I think back, I don't really remember a lot of commercials. I mean, they haven't impacted me because I can think back and remember Super Bowl 13 and when Jackie Smith dropped the touchdown pass.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
my
I
God.
remember the Super Bowl Brent just talked about when Brady led that huge comeback and beat the Falcons. And I remember last year when Logan Wilson had that blind holding call called on him by the end zone by the same crew that actually was in the last Chiefs-Bengals game, which called that missed a couple. So I remember those. I don't think about the Doritos commercials 10 years later.
That's crazy. I swear
You know what's
to you,
funny?
of all these years talking about the Super Bowl, I've never asked myself that question. Do you remember a single ad?
No.
You know what's funny is the series of ads I remember best. A series of them was called "Don't Judge Too Quickly." I don't even remember what they were advertising, what the company was, or what they did. I remember a guy cooking spaghetti, and his white cat jumps up on the counter, and spaghetti sauce spills all over, and he picks up the cat dripping with spaghetti sauce, and his wife walks in and sees him holding this cat, blood dripping spaghetti sauce, and holding a knife in his other hand, and it says, "Don't judge too quickly." But what were they advertising? I don't know, but I remember that series of commercials.
Oh my God.
Maybe
Those are great ads.
Yeah, maybe He Gets Us will linger on, and people will remember that one. But I don't recall the other ones. I really don't.
Okay, maybe
That
Budweiser.
money well spent. Obviously
Budweiser has always had really good commercials. I remember the horses, but I don't always remember the nuances of the commercial. But then again, as we were saying at the beginning, we're sports nuts, and football was injected with the milk into our cornflakes every day. So that's so maybe for those of you watching, send us your favorite commercial from the Super Bowl.
One thing, and sorry to jump in, one thing I get a little tired of during the game is seeing all the celebrities. I don't care about the celebrities who are only there for the first time all season long because they want to be seen. That's one thing that they make a habit of showing. I don't care if Carrie Underwood's there or not. I really don't. But a lot of folks will watch it for that.
That's why I never watch a Lakers game.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. All the places to be seen. Very true. Let's transition to the halftime show.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the halftime show? Rihanna.
None.
Yeah, the last few maybe okay, I'm just going to say this. Is it cuz I'm getting old and their choices are like irrelevant to me, but the last maybe 4 Super Bowls they had classics when they had the Rolling Stones, when they had Prince. Oh my goodness.
Classics. They had Snoop Dogg.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. But and so there's some entertainment value there, but some of it has been as shock and awe as the Grammys, and some of it has been like, who is this? And some of it has just been, I don't know, give me someone bigger. It's the Super Bowl, for crying out loud.
I know last year when we were there, everybody was hyped up on that show. And when it started, and I'm not exaggerating, when it started, where we were sitting, we could not hear a thing except rumbling. That's all we could hear. It was like, sound like, Charlie Brown's teacher singing. We had no idea what it was. So we ended up just saying, hey, let's just go get something to eat. And we went back and chowed down at all the media food they had for us. We didn't, after what was like, we can't hear a thing. So
yeah,
better to me.
Though last year they did have some classic musicians, some classic, hip hop, rap artists. But if you can't hear there, but they don't really care about that audience. It's the millions of other people who are watching. And I guess it was okay. But this year, Rihanna, not to say that she doesn't have talent, but why that choice? Why her? Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's why they always choose. It's who's popular in the moment, and they try and make a statement with who they select as well. And so I just think that they've done that again. And she is an incredibly talented artist, and there's no question about
actress,
that.
And she's actually very, very good at acting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I'm sure we'll have some cameos from other people that she's worked with. And so it may be a good show. I don't know. I think maybe I'm coming into it jaded because I've been tired of having politics shoved down my throat or diversity shoved down my throat.
They haven't listened to I've made several suggestions. I've made the same suggestion the last 10 years, but they don't listen to me. So
what is that?
Hey, bring in Nora Jones. I'd love that.
Okay. Garrick, who would you suggest?
Have they had Biebs on before?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Justin Bieber.
No.
I like Justin Bieber. Okay.
Oh no.
So
what the heck?
Give me Journey. Take me back to the 80s.
Okay.
There you go. There's
Eagles.
a good one.
The Eagles.
I would love to have like good stand-up routine. They bring in Seinfeld. Or Rodney Dangerfield would have been hilarious.
You want to talk about? We're talking about risking politics.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Real comedians. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Do they still exist?
I would say the Eagles, but then that might be preference to one team over the other. So
a particular team out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, but that's totally my choice. And can we just get a country star once? There's
got one singing the national anthem. Oh my gosh, I know who it is. I can't think of his name. He's doing the national anthem. Stapleton, is that right?
Oh, Chris Stapleton.
Yeah,
sweet. Come on.
Yeah, one of those guys.
I'm a little bit of a country girl at heart, but all right. Now it really is. We said it at the beginning. Let's bring it home. Before we give our predictions to the Super Bowl and restate and give Garrick a chance to step in, because Garrick and I are the other football correspondents, I did want to just weigh in with the Club World Cup. It was important on a couple levels because we are both Sounders fans, and Garrick had been the chaplain for the Seattle Sounders, who played on this massive stage for Club World Cup. And give us just a rundown of how they got there and how they bombed. And I wouldn't say bombed because they held their own until the last final minutes.
Yeah. Seattle Sounders, of course, the first ever and only ever MLS club to win the CONCACAF Champions League, which we did last year. And as a result, we became entrants into the FIFA Club World Cup that's happening in Morocco this year. And we were facing a team from Saudi Arabia. I believe that's where they're from. Egypt, thank you. Yeah, another African team. Because of the fact that they're hosting it in Africa, Africa got two representative teams, and this one, the Egyptians team, I apologize. But anyway, they're a very good team. They're the top of the Egyptian league. And
probably the most decorated team in the world, arguably, they say so.
Certainly on the African continent. And the Sounders, I think, played very well. And here's I think the challenge for Seattle is that all of these teams are mid-season.
Yes.
And only the MLS has the season, which begins at the end of February. And so this is preseason for us. And so the rest of these teams are in their top form. And so given that, I think Seattle, I think we played very well. And we, as you mentioned, Michelle, gave up the only goal late on into the, I think it was the 87th minute. And we were pressing and we had opportunities. And for a first time out, it was disappointing, of course, but certainly we have nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to hang our heads over. And it was a great, like you said, great world stage, great opportunity. Had we gone through and won, it would have been a bigger stage even because we would have played, is it AC Milan?
Yes.
That is Real Madrid.
Oh, was it Madrid?
Sorry, Real Madrid.
Okay, we would have played Real Madrid. And then if we won, and of course there's the if, ands, and buts, but we did make it there. And the first MLS, first Major League Soccer team from the United States to make it to Club World Cup. That is really huge because soccer has been kind of the redheaded stepchild of the International Football Community. And we've watched MLS start to grow, start to improve, become better, have more money, more people in the seats watching the game, better players. And congratulations, though, to Seattle for making it there. And yes, honestly, they put in a valiant effort. They played very well. In fact, I would say they dominated in the first half. So congratulations. And on a bigger note, it really does say something for soccer in the United States. It's close to coming of age. So good for them. Yay. Okay. Now our predictions. We'll start with Brent. You already gave one. Del, you flirted with giving one, but not officially yet. So you picked the Eagles.
I gave a very, very flimsy Eagles pick.
Okay. Okay. Garrick?
I would have to go lean towards the Chiefs. Especially the combination with the way that Mahomes and his receiving core, especially, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his tight end.
Kelsey.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah, Kelce, the other Kelce. You guys probably talked about the brother Kelce's that are playing. Yeah, they just seem to make things happen at the right time. And so I'm giving my nod to Kansas City with Kelce getting at least one touchdown.
Yeah, they're in the zone. Del?
Yeah, they are. Kelsey just gets open. He just stays open. Nobody ever covers the guy. He just opens all the time. Of course, I was 0 for 2 like last time, so I'm really not a good predictor. But I would just go. I'm going to go with the Eagles because I think they've just been good all year long. And
phew! Then my pick is safe because he picked the Eagles.
Yeah, good. I picked the Eagles. I know. That is if the Chiefs have to use their 7th quarterback. I think it won't be
right.
Yeah, I'm going to edge out the Eagles, but I think it's going to be an entertaining game. Let's take our final shot. All right, final shot, Garrick.
All right.
You came late. We're going to make you go first.
If you know anything about Virginia Tech, which I really don't follow Virginia Tech, but there was a female soccer player, and so this particularly caught my attention. And from the age of 3, she was playing soccer, and her parents went to Virginia Tech, and it was her dream and her goal to always play for Virginia Tech. And her first 2 years there, she did incredibly well. She's a regular starter. And then the pandemic came along and had a weird, so I think she only played 1 year. Anyway, all that to say, but mixed in there was all the politics that started happening with the Black Lives Matter and all that. And she is a complete supporter of the concept of Black Lives Matter, but was not in favor of the organization because of her faith background and because of the things that the organization stood for, specifically the destruction of the nuclear family and the things that Black Lives Matter once had on their website, which they have now taken off. And when the team decided, when a few players, vocal players, decided the whole team was going to kneel to start a game, she made the decision to stand. And of course, that was not popular with a lot of people, but she literally stood her ground, stood for her convictions. and ended up getting canceled. Her coach benched her. Her team, many of her teammates ostracized her. She went from just being one of the key components to the team, and it was so bad that she ended up leaving the university and just or leaving the team. I don't know if she finished at the university or not, but just this last week, she was victorious in a lawsuit that she filed. And in my opinion, it was too small. She got $100,000, but she's doing very well. She's pursuing a degree in nursing right now, a graduate degree in nursing. But I just want to today give my final shot to Kirsten, what's her name?
I remember.
Kirsten Henning is her name, and she refused to bend a knee and stand.
And agree or not, if you're not a proponent of free speech and free expression, you got to rethink what you're standing for. Brent, final shot.
Mine goes to Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith, who became the first Seattle quarterback ever to get an MVP vote.
That's got a bite with poor Russell Wilson.
He also was the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, which was pretty amazing. But when you consider
well deserved
all the Matt Hasselbeck's years and all the years with Russell Wilson, where it really was odd that he never received even a single MVP vote.
Oh boy! On the side note, Russ has come under a lot of condemnation with his organization, who gives less than 25 cents on a dollar to doing good in the community, and a whole lot in padding the wallets of the people of the organization. Oh, ouch!
It does happen. It does happen a lot.
It does. It does.
Yeah. Also, I want to add on a little side note. One of the other people who received an MVP vote. Yeah. I think we have not heard his name often. His name's Denny Kellington, but he was the trainer on the field in Buffalo that night.
Was that the first ever trainer to receive an MVP vote?
Yes, it is. It is. I'm sure.
And that is really cool because it always goes to the cool quarterback. Right?
But I thought,
just say
that was cool. He's the only guy this year to actually save a life on the field.
I hope he gets it. I hope he gets it. Dell?
Yeah, plus poor Russell Wilson. I mean, he mentioned that, and then he's got to give up his whole personal staff. Like Sean Payton said, that stuff's going to stop. So that goes to, I have two quick ones. Obviously, Joe Burrow for getting FedEx Offensive Player of the Year. And then my other one is a lot of folks didn't see. Well, we did see it, but after the game, DJ Reader, the defensive tackle for the Bengals, really took up and defended Joseph Asai after some onslaught of really lousy media. I was down there and at his stall and listened to some of these questions. And here's a man who's a Pro Bowl season, just a great season. And here he is sobbing in his stall. And guys are asking, what's going through your head? What were you thinking? As far as trying to get the story. And DJ Reader just steps in and says, don't answer that question. You guys get out of here. So he stood up for his player. It was just lousy.
Yeah.
So my shout out to DJ Reader for having his teammates back.
I have two. One is to surfer Bethany Hamilton. It was the subject of a movie about her life. She had her arm taken off by a shark attack. She took a stand for women, saying that transgendered people, men that transgender,